Ever get that feeling? You
Yeah.
know that one where, like, no matter what you do, the system is, like, totally rigged against you.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, you're just stuck,
Uh-huh.
and there's, like, no way out.
Yeah.
Well, just try to imagine that. But, like, back in 18th century France,
Ah.
that's where we're going today, like, right into the heart of the French Revolution.
That feeling of powerlessness, and being completely ignored,
Right.
it echoes through history
Totally.
and the French Revolution. Oh, it's a prime example of what can happen when those feelings boil over.
Yeah, it's like a whole nation is struggling
Yeah.
just to survive,
Mhm.
and then you've got the monarchy just, like, living it up.
Living in the lap of luxury.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
Oh, yeah. You can see it in the financial records. They were
Uh,
spending like crazy.
wow.
And the tax system, totally unfair. All the burden was on the commoners.
So it's like creating this powder keg of resentment.
Like, you got it.
And then you've got King Louis XVI.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to deal with this whole powder keg.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't a bad guy.
No.
Just kind of clueless, maybe?
Out of touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He knew things needed to change, though.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1789, he calls this meeting the Estates General,
Ah, the Estates General.
hoping to, like, find some solution to this crazy financial mess.
It was like their version of a super parliament, right?
Right.
Bringing everyone together. Clergy, the nobility, and the commoners.
Got it.
They were called the Third Estate.
The Third Estate.
Uh-huh. On paper, it seemed like, a chance for dialogue to,
Yeah.
like, reform things.
Okay.
But the reality, it was a whole different story.
Oh, really? What happened?
So the Third Estate,
Yeah.
they represented most of France, right?
Yeah, right.
But their votes, always outweighed by the clergy and nobility.
Oh, no. So they're at this big meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and their voices aren't even heard.
Yeah, it's like showing up and knowing your opinion doesn't matter.
Ugh, that's...
And this feeling of being ignored.
Yeah.
Oh, it just fueled their anger.
Wow.
Especially when they had this whole list of grievances, called the Cahier de Doléances.
The Cahier de Doléances.
Uh-huh. It spelled out all the injustices, the unfair taxes, the lack of representation.
Go kid.
And then they had to see the monarchy just, flaunting their wealth.
Right, so I'm betting all those frustrations didn't just vanish after the meeting,
You think so?
and then just a few months later, boom.
Yeah.
July 14th, 1789,
Okay.
the people of Paris, they just snapped.
What happened?
They stormed the Bastille.
Oh, wow.
You know, that prison that symbolized the king's power?
Uh-huh.
They were looking for gunpowder.
Gunpowder.
Yeah, and they were scared of what the king might do.
So the storming of the Bastille, that was like a turning point.
It really was, wasn't
It
it?
was like they were saying, no more.
Yeah. Right.
We won't take this anymore.
It wasn't just about grabbing some weapons. It was a
Yeah.
huge act of defiance.
It sent shockwaves through France. All of Europe felt it too. People started questioning their own rulers.
Now, imagine you're Louis XVI.
Ooh, okay.
Your people just stormed a symbol of your power.
Yeah.
Things are out of control. What do you do?
What would you do?
I don't know.
Well, in June 1791, Louis XVI decides to make a run for it.
He escaped.
He tried to. He dressed up like a servant.
A servant.
Uh-huh. And under the cover of darkness, he and his family snuck out, hoping to get to the border.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to rally support and fight back against the revolution.
So it was like a desperate gamble?
It was, but not exactly a smooth escape,
What do you mean?
Let's just say his disguise wasn't that great.
Oh, no.
They caught him near the border,
Really?
brought him back to Paris, a failed runaway king, the symbol of a monarchy that was falling apart.
Talk about a public relations nightmare.
Oh, yeah. This confirmed everyone's suspicions that he wasn't on their side.
And things were going to get a lot worse.
Uh-oh.
On August 10th, 1792, there were all these rumors. Yeah, about the king making deals with other countries.
Oh, no.
And people were terrified of a counter-revolution.
Right.
So a mob attacked the king's residence in Paris.
Oh, wow. So this wasn't just another riot.
No way.
This was a full-on attack.
Yeah, they massacred the guards,
Oh, my gosh.
and the royal family had to run for their lives.
It sounds like the revolution was entering a whole new phase.
Much more radical one.
Yeah.
So this brings us to a super important moment,
Okay.
a date that's forever linked to the French Revolution.
What date is that?
January 21st, 1793.
January 21st, 1793.
The turning point, a break from the past.
Okay.
This is the day they led Louis XVI into the guillotine. He'd been stripped of his title, labeled a traitor.
Wow.
Can you picture it?
Boy.
A somber procession through Paris. Crowds gathered to watch their former king be executed.
It's a powerful image, you know?
Yeah.
It shows how revolutions can completely overturn everything.
Right.
But this was just the beginning. There's so much more to the story.
Really?
The French Revolution was far from over.
I see.
And Louis VI, well, he wasn't the last to face the guillotine.
Oh, wow. This revolution was just getting started.
That's right.
Okay, so we left off with Louis XVI meeting his end at the guillotine.
Right.
Such a powerful image.
Yeah.
You know, like the revolution's not messing around.
It's important to remember, though, that the revolution, it wasn't just like one big force, you know?
What do you mean?
Like it wasn't everyone moving in the same direction at the same time.
Okay.
It was more like different groups, different ideas.
So they all wanted change.
Yeah.
But they didn't agree on what that change should look like.
Right. And they definitely didn't agree on how to make it happen.
Okay, so like different factions.
Exactly. You had the Girondins. They were, well, I guess you could call them moderate.
Moderate.
They wanted a government that wasn't so centralized
Okay.
and some economic reforms.
Makes sense.
And then you had the Montagnards.
Montagnards.
They were way more radical.
Oh, really?
They wanted a republic, a strong central government.
Huh.
And they were ready to take drastic measures to fix social inequality.
So while all these groups were like fighting for power, things in France must have been just totally chaotic, right?
Oh, yeah. After Louis was executed, things got really unstable.
I bet.
There was violence, political violence.
Right.
People were paranoid, distrustful.
Wow, scary times.
And don't forget, France was also at war with other countries.
Right, right.
So all of this fear, the uncertainty,
Yeah.
it kind of created this breeding ground for extremism.
Mm.
And that's where the Reign of Terror comes in.
Reign of Terror.
Uh-huh. It was, well, I guess the name says it all.
So a time of fear and suspicion?
And the guillotine, lots of guillotine.
Right. It's like this stark reminder that revolutions, even when they start with good intentions, you know, like liberty, equality, all that,
Yeah,
they can still turn violent and oppressive.
absolutely. The Reign of Terror is like a warning
A warning.
about what happens when power goes unchecked. People get caught up in this revolutionary fervor.
Right.
And then the quest for justice, it just turns into terror.
It's almost like the revolution started eating its own people.
That's a great way to put it.
You know, turning on those who supported it at the beginning.
It shows you how complex revolutions are.
Yeah.
How they can be full of contradictions.
So much potential for change,
Yeah.
but also so much potential for violence and revenge.
It's a tough balance.
So with all this chaos, all this terror, what happened next?
Well, the Reign of Terror couldn't last forever.
Yeah.
People started realizing that it was out of control.
Right.
And in 1794,
Yeah.
Robespierre, the leader of the terror,
Oh, wow.
he was arrested
Oh, wow.
and then executed himself.
No way.
Talk about a turning point.
Wow. So what happened to France after that?
Well, there was this period called the Thermidorian reaction.
Thermidorian reign.
It was a time of, well, relative calm, I guess.
calm compared to the terror.
Exactly. People were moving away from those extremes.
Okay, so after all the bloodshed, all the turmoil,
Yeah.
did the French Revolution actually succeed?
That's a good question.
You know, did they achieve their goals? Create a better society?
That's a tough one. There are no easy answers.
I guess so.
The French Revolution, it definitely changed France
Right.
and the whole world, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it challenged everything people thought about power and authority.
And it introduced ideas that we still talk about today.
Exactly. Like liberty, equality, fraternity.
So inspiring.
Right. They are. But the reality of the revolution, well, it was a lot more complicated, a lot more brutal.
Yeah, we've seen that.
It's a mixed legacy.
I mixed legacy.
One that we still need to understand to really grasp its importance.
It's a reminder that revolutions aren't simple.
No.
They're messy, unpredictable,
Full of violence.
and often with consequences that no one saw coming.
That's the nature of revolutions, I guess.
Okay, so we've been through a lot with this French Revolution thing.
We have?
Seen the good, the bad, the ugly.
Uh-huh.
Started with hope.
Hope and change.
Ended up with...
Well, chaos. But even with all the bloodshed,
Yeah.
it left a mark, you know?
I mean, it had to, right?
I mean, on France,
Mm-hmm.
but also the world.
Just smash the old ways of doing things.
It did challenge the whole idea of kings having absolute power.
Wow.
And from that came all these ideas about freedom, democracy, rights.
Ideas we still talk about today.
Exactly.
It's like it planted seeds that kept growing,
That's a good way to put it.
even after all the violence stopped.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things
Yeah.
was how these ideas spread
Sure.
throughout Europe. And even further,
Really?
those ideals, liberty, equality, fraternity, became like rallying cries
For who?
for people who wanted to overthrow their own bad rulers.
So the French Revolution wasn't just a French thing.
Nope.
It had this ripple effect.
Yeah, like the Haitian Revolution.
What was that?
Enslaved Africans rose up demanding freedom.
Wow.
And Latin America, too.
What happened there?
Those colonies, they broke away from Spain and Portugal.
It's amazing to think about,
What's that?
how this thing in France changed things on the other side of the world.
It's the power of ideas.
Wow.
They can cross oceans, inspire people everywhere.
To fight for a better life.
Exactly. And the French Revolution showed everyone what happens when people stand up and say, enough.
But it wasn't a perfect ending, was it?
No, not really. France still had a lot of problems.
It's like what?
Instability, political stuff. And then, well, Napoleon came along.
Napoleon, he took power.
So another strong leader.
Kind of. He did some good things. But it was still, one person in charge.
That exactly what the revolution was fighting for.
Right. It's like history goes in circles.
Yeah, ups and downs.
You get progress, then setbacks, new problems.
And the fight for change starts all over again. Exactly. The French Revolution, it's messy.
Definitely messy.
Complicated. But it reminds us
Of what?
that creating a fair society, it's a process.
It never really ends.
Nope. We have to be careful, think critically.
And learn from what's happened before.
That's the key.
So we've covered a lot
Yeah.
from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
The highs, the lows, the whole French Revolution roller coaster.
And it's still fascinating, isn't it?
It is after all these
It
years.
shows us that history, it's more than just dates and names.
What else is it then?
It's about people,
Okay.
Their experiences, the lessons they learned, the questions they asked.
And hopefully it makes us ask our own questions.
That's
about the past and about the future we're trying to create.
a future where everyone has a chance.
To live freely and equally.
Exactly.
Well, I've learned a lot today.
Me too.
Thanks for taking us on this journey through the French Revolution.
My pleasure.
It's definitely made me think.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Keeping those conversations going.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep learning.
and keep the spirit of revolution alive.
Couldn't have said it better myself.